What's going on, ladies and gents? It is your boy ETM Gamma here with the lovely
Juju.
Today, we're going to be talking about Lil Loaded, Avicii, Amy Winehouse, and Juice WRLD. What do they all have in common? You guys know what we do here. Let's escape the Matrix. All right, guys, welcome back. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, do all that YouTube stuff. We're going to get right into it.
Okay.
So we had some unfortunate news.
Right.
Yet another young musician, an aspiring one that many of you may have not heard of, Lil Loaded. And I think he hails from either
Texas.
Houston, somewhere in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it has been reported that he died on Monday, May 31st.
Right.
And so we want to kind of talk about that because there was a very cryptic message found on one of his social media platforms. Right. I believe it was Instagram or Facebook. We're going to hop right into it. And Juju, if you don't mind, you can even start off by just kind of reading one of the last messages that, you guys may have seen that is circulating online. So we're going to read it for you guys, and then we're going to kind of discuss it a little bit more.
Dear Most High, please forgive me for my shortcomings and all of the times I fell short of making you proud and being appreciative of the blessings that have been put in my life. Sometimes the lines are blurred between being solid and being heartless. I want to thank you for how far I've come and the people you've put in my life to keep me grounded and humble through everything. And I love every single one of those people that are genuinely for me. I ask for entrance into your kingdom through all of my mistakes. I know you love all of your children, and I'm ready for my heart and soul to join you.
There you have it, guys.
Right.
20-year-old. Now, I don't know why it's referred as cryptic, because that's kind of the headlines we've been seeing. Like cryptic.
Yeah.
But as you just heard Juju read, it was very somber. It was very heartfelt.
Yeah,
you rarely hear an individual that young, especially coming from the world that he comes from.
Yeah.
The inner city, the urban slums, and he's trying to rap his way out like many of our youths are doing today. And for him to write a message like that, clearly he's speaking to God and he's asking for forgiveness. He's asking that he can enter God's kingdom. It hit me a little differently. It's kind of sad in many ways, but it's good that at least he's acknowledging God. If he believed in God, you don't want to go out, trying to be a savage or a demon. So at least he's turned into that direction. But the reason why I said I think it's a little sad,
right?
As we were discussing earlier, a lot of young people, they find themselves in predicaments that just seems to overwhelm them.
Right.
And this is really the only time they turn to God, when it's almost too late.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but from what we're hearing, it appears that he committed suicide.
Yeah, suicide.
That it appears that he took his own life.
Right.
And that's something that we definitely want to talk about. Not just him, but the other artists, like we mentioned too. Not all these artists that we named committed suicide or took their lives, but they absolutely found themselves in a very deep, dark situation.
Right.
And many times, even if you're not going to do it right away or take your life intentionally, you could be destroying yourselves.
That's true.
In other ways. So
that's true.
Let's first touch on this guy, 20-year-old guy.
Yeah, 20, just 20.
These are the rumors. And again, guys, if you're watching, please leave a comment if you know more details about this artist, what may have happened actually. Because we've heard that he may have actually had a bad breakup with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And that led to her, him feeling, I guess, down and not wanting to live anymore. There are other rumors that he was fighting a manslaughter, and I don't know if he was able to beat that charge or even tried yet. So there's a lot of speculation as to what may have caused it.
Okay.
But the main thing we want to touch on is just the lack of help in these communities, the lack of knowing exactly what can cause someone to be in this position. Because it seems like so many people can relate to the darkness,
Yes.
but very few can help you
Yes.
get out of it.
That's true.
That's really the topic of discussion, right?
Right.
So first, let's start with Lil Loaded. 20-year-old, young black male,
Right.
coming out of the slums or, you know, a lower income situation. Let's just put it like that, right?
Right.
And of course, anyone in that situation, the first and foremost thing they're trying to do is get out. You know,
Right,
you want
of
better. It
course.
doesn't matter your race. It doesn't matter your religion, where you're from. Any part of the world, if once you acknowledge or recognize that you're living in a less than stable environment, you
Right.
want to find something that's more stable.
Right.
And he chose to do music. You know, at least that was one of the more obvious ways. That was one of the big ways that he was trying to get out. But there has to be some other things that are not so obvious that he probably was dealing with. And, you know, again, this is all speculation.
Yeah.
But just going by what we commonly see in these areas, in these environments,
commonly.
drug, substance abuse, violence, so on and so forth. It's so prevalent. How do you think that impacts the youth, Juju? Like, what would you say that impact has?
I mean, it's a detrimental one, if anything, because if you are living in a area, in a community that has little resources, right? Little help, all that's left to do is just try to self cope, self-medicate, right?
Self-soothe, yeah.
Exactly. So, and a lot of times we find that they're very destructive, things that people get themselves into to do so, right?
Right. And why is that? Why do you think that's the case? That they resort to those methods? Lack of resources? Is it just, people being embarrassed to get the help that they actually need? Or could it even be a lack of awareness? Like, you're not even aware that you need certain types of help. Like, what would you say?
I mean, again, lack of resources, because, even that lack of self-awareness, usually a lot of times you would have someone by your side to help you, navigate through whatever rough waters you're in, right?
Right.
As well as, history, like, or your, the family cycles, or the community, cycles of dealing with any type of hardship or struggle, right? So a lot of these, there are these things that are within the equation that makes it very tough for these people to really seek the proper help, to get the proper help. And again, I feel like it all goes back to the resources.
Yeah, sounds like what you're describing, in many ways, is a cultural thing. And when I say culture, I'm not just referring to a particular race. I'm talking about a group. It can be any race within that group. It could be like a certain demographic,
Right.
location, region, etc. So I mean, it's almost like a subculture, right? Like certain environments, it's frowned upon to get help, to get therapy.
Right.
Frowned upon to talk about anything that could be looked at as weakness. Oh, what's wrong with you, man? Get over it. Like, I lost my father and this and that. Like, they share all of these broken experiences.
That's true.
So if anyone actually wants to get help or talk about it or vent,
Right.
they're hushed. They're like, come on, we all deal with this. We all deal with struggle. And they normalize dysfunction. They normalize alcoholism, drug abuse, violence, seeing these things that children should never see or experience.
That's true.
And that's what I mean by culture. Certain groups have a culture of acceptance of things that are debauched, things that are violent, things that are broken, and that are, simply not right. And so when something like this happens, right?
Right.
I think it's good for us to talk about it, especially in particular the fact that it is a young rapper.
Yeah.
Because when you think of a young rapper in today's day and age, what are you thinking about? Super aggression, right? Getting ladies, getting money, no care in the world. I don't care about nothing. You think of the opposite of someone who would take their life. You think about somebody who's on top of the world, who's who's promoting like a persona of superiority,
That's true.
dominance. Machismo. It's like that's what rappers give off. Like, I'm straight, man. I ain't got ain't nothing bothering me. Ain't got nothing to worry about. So when you actually see this happening, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Let's talk. Because maybe what the youth are being sold is not truth. You know what I mean? Like when the cameras come off, they got to deal with the harsh realities that they still live in.
Right.
And that's why I think this culture, like you said, certain environments, they lack resources. Certain groups, even if the resources are there, they're unwilling to take advantage of it. There's a stigma. It's like, yo, leave these therapists alone. We straight. Yeah. We don't need that. And so it's important to acknowledge that as well. And that's kind of where we step in. We want to, anyone watching this video, especially if you're younger, because all these people that we name, by the way, Amy Winehouse, Avicii, Juice WRLD, the guy, Lil Loaded. And then there's a long list of others, Even Etika we talked about, that's a YouTuber.
Right.
He was doing well. All of these people we named, they were all under 30 years old.
Yeah.
None of them even made it to 30.
Yeah.
A few of them just hit 20, barely out their teens.
That's right.
And so you have to think about that. What could make someone that young feel so low that either they do things to contribute to their demise or they just outright take their own life?
Take their life, yeah.
Very important to discuss. And so, let's touch on some of the other ones. For example, Amy Winehouse, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol toxicity was the cause of her death. And then you have Avicii, self-inflicted wounds.
Right.
They don't go on to describe exactly what took place. Then you have Juice WRLD.
Right.
It was a seizure that was induced by oxycodone.
Right.
And a few other things.
Right.
So all of these people, right? When it comes to the normal everyday person like you and I, the people watching this, the average person that aspired to maybe get out of the rat race, stop doing the 9 to 5, start their own business,
better
basically
life,
someone that's not in the limelight, right?
Right.
The people that we just named, they have everything that most people assume brings happiness. For the most part, they had wealth. They had a measure of, a mass amount of money, whether it was rich, whether they were rich or wealthy, they had more money than the average person.
The average person, right.
They certainly had fame, notoriety.
Right.
Whatever you want to call it these days, clout, status. They had the fame. They were known. If any one of those people were still alive, they can do Instagram lives and have thousands of people watching right away.
Yeah.
And I'm saying all of this because those are the things that a lot of people strive to have. And they're not content. Yeah. They're not happy unless they can achieve those things.
Right.
Yet the people who had them, they were not content.
Yeah.
They were not happy.
Doesn't that say something?
It says a lot. Yeah. What do you think that says, Juju? What do you take from that?
I mean, what I take from it is that one, these people who we hold to such a high status, they're just like many of us. They're going through, things in life that are turbulent, right? So for me, again, you're acquiring fame, status, money, and whatnot, but that doesn't deal with your issues that you have been struggling with, right? Over the years or throughout your life. So, if anything, status, money, if anything, I think it just exasperates it if you don't get the needed help that you need, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's my take. Yeah,
we often talk about beneath the surface a lot, especially, and you're going to hear that, guys, especially on this channel, Escape the Matrix. You're going to hear a lot of talk about substance because as Juju just kind of touched on, having these things, a lot of the wealth and the fame and fortune, etc., that's surface level, believe it or not.
Very much so.
Very surface. You don't take any of that when you go. And those things don't define who you are.
They don't.
Which is why a lot of people that have a lot of that, they often still lack self-worth.
Yeah.
They don't know who they are. Quite simply. It's not that they're crazy or they're wicked or anything, but they feel like, it's almost like what you were touching on, I guess, it masks the real issues. Those things are not even a Band-Aid.
Yeah, no.
They're barely even that if they are. They don't do anything to heal the wounds, the deep cuts. And we're going to touch on that, just now as far as like what can cause those deep wounds and cuts.
Right.
The old saying goes, it all starts at home, right? Everything starts at home. Because when you're born, for the most part, whatever or wherever your home is,
Right.
that's where you start to be developed.
Molded.
No matter what, if it's a great environment, if it's a not so great environment, if it's a foster home, if it's your auntie, grandma, grandpa, two parents, it doesn't matter.
That's true.
Your life begins at home.
Take shape. Yeah.
Village, castle, mansion, apartment building, hood, bando, trap house, no matter what.
No
so
matter
with
where.
that said, we do have to acknowledge that there must be a lot of dysfunction, no matter the social economic status, right? When you're a child, you're being developed and you need extreme stability. You need patterns. You need discipline. You need to be shown how things work on a consistent level. So anything that's disrupted will leave that within you, a sense of disruption.
Right.
And if you listen to Amy Winehouse, like
Her
a lot of her songs,
Yeah.
the titles, the lyrics, it reflects a lot of what she went through. Rehab.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs she's ever done, My Tears Dry on Their Own. But even the chorus, even the hook, my tears dry on their own. See a sense of loneliness.
Yeah.
No support. Nobody's here to help me. No shoulder to lean on or cry on. Like
That's
those,
how she felt.
A lot of people, especially artists, they tend to kind of cry out during these last few months or years before they often, lead to their demise,
Yeah.
And we see that happening all the time. In fact, more recently, and I'm shocked we almost forgot this, but DMX.
Yeah.
DMX.
Just this year.
50 years old.
Oh,
Trust me, he could have had another 30 years easily. 30 to 40 or even more. So that's super young.
Yeah.
Anyone who thinks 50
is
a good time to lose your life naturally.
No.
Come on.
Yeah, no.
Even if you're a 20-year-old, you want 30 more years is what you're looking forward to? So you got to say, man, that is true. A lot of these people, they ignore the pain or they try to use things like drugs and indulging in things to kind of mask it, but they know it's not really healing it.
Right.
Because if it was healing, you wouldn't be addicted to it.
Yeah.
Healing gets the job done, and that's it. Like no one's addicted to the hospital. Nobody's addicted to surgery. Why? Because it works and you move on. So if you keep doing something over and over and over and over, and you have to keep doing it to get that pleasure or get that satisfaction, usually that is a sign of addiction.
Yeah.
And like with all addictions, right?
Yeah.
You got to do more to get that, to hit that same point.
Because your body gets used
to it, no matter what it is. Alcohol,
so
drugs, crack, a sex addiction, no matter what. If you first felt like you were on cloud nine, now you're numb. So, you're running around, you're shooting up, and you're like, man, I don't feel the same. You want a bigger hit, more stronger drugs.
Right.
Even physical, emotional, same thing. Oh, I used to do these little getaways and these little fairs. Now I feel like I need 10 women at the same time, etc.
Yeah.
So, again, that's a good sign that something is not right because it's not healing you.
Yes.
You're constantly doing it. And that's what a lot of these people seem to have dealt with. Like, they dealt with issues that were treated in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And they became addicted to it, and sometimes they just gave up on their lives.
Exactly.
So, the question that we have for you guys, right, that we like to know from our audience is, have you had an addiction that almost made things take a turn for the worse, and you overcame it? I like to hear some triumph over tragedy stories, and more importantly, how did you overcome it?
Yeah.
Would the family step in? Did you go to like rehab?
Yeah.
A retreat? Like what happened? How did you get over it? Because again, we want to openly discuss that, and hopefully we have some people that are willing to share that information freely.
Yeah.
Resources are welcome, if you have numbers, websites, etc. Because I think, again, going back to the culture thing, if you're dealing with a particular group of people who shame you for getting help, you just may not want to do it at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, like, where do you think that comes from? Of course, we said it starts from the home, right?
Right.
But what causes that? Do you think it's just a generational thing? Like, where did it start becoming uncool to say you have issues and you need help with them?
I feel, or I believe, a large part of it is like a generational thing that has been passed on. For example, our parents, or speaking of my parents, I remember I was speaking to my mom the other day, and she was saying that how therapy just wasn't a thing to, like a topic of conversation growing up. So, you have that, right? And then they're having kids, and is that being discussed? Is that being taught? Is that source of help being, tapped into? No. I feel like more now, this current generation has had a huge push for therapy,
right?
Which is awesome. But yeah, I feel like generation had, your family generation, or however you want to put it, has a huge impact on that, like in terms of how you perceive therapy. Yeah.
And so
what about
it brings to, I think we have to also touch on, like what you said, this generation.
Yeah.
They're like pro therapy. It seems like everyone has a therapist.
Yeah.
And then there are websites that give virtual therapy.
Yeah.
So even the notion of getting in a car, driving yourself to a building, an office, a home, facility, where people may see you going into this big building, they're like, "Ooh, look, she's going into the the nut house or whatever it is you're afraid of or ashamed of."
Right.
You don't have to deal with that in today's world.
Yeah.
You can virtually on your phone. You can hold a cell phone and talk to somebody who understands the depth of what you're dealing with, and it still could be confidential, and you can be getting direct help. So that thing, I think, like what you said, the current generation, there's so much more resources.
Yeah.
And then there's a different sense of the reaction is different. The reception is different.
Right.
There's an acceptance of that.
More of an acceptance,
we used to joke years ago when the anti-bully movement first came on.
Oh, yeah.
And not that we weren't pro-bullying, but we joked because, we're 80s babiys.
Yeah, yeah.
We came from, you got to toughen up, man.
Yeah,
You're going to be punked for the rest of the school year. Yeah. Day one, someone takes like a pencil off your table or they step on your shoes. If you don't do nothing about it, they're going to do that. That's kind of how we were taught.
Yeah.
Like telling the teacher and the resource officer that didn't work.
No.
In fact, I remember like sometimes the teacher would almost promote you standing up for yourself.
To stand up for yourself.
Yeah, don't. I remember hearing this word in the classroom. Don't be a tattletale.
Yeah, I remember.
Teachers would say that to students. I remember some students, you're always going to have them scrawny students that were just naturally smaller than everyone, right? Like
picked on.
Yeah, they're going to be picked on. And those kids were told, I don't want to hear it. Stop being a tattletale. You handle it.
Yeah, yeah.
Today's world, look, viral video of
Stick
a
up for one another.
15-year-old doing something can mess up that 15-year-old for life.
Absolutely.
That's how much notice people are being put on. Like, you did something at 15, don't think about being the president. Yeah. Don't think about being the CEO unless it's going to be for your own company. Because there's so much more exposure to wrongdoing. People are getting fired for being nasty and disrespectful, not just racist.
Yeah.
They're getting fired for any type of abusive behavior. So we do have a different kind of world. Yeah, some people may call it, what is that word they use? PC, the PC, politically correct.
Oh, yeah.
Like you may feel a little suppressed if you're rough around the edges, right? You may feel like, I don't know what to say. I'm afraid I might offend someone.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, if you're respectful in general, you don't have much to worry about. You shouldn't be looking for ways to offend people anyway.
Right.
If you're respectful. But just going back to the theme, the concept of therapy back in the day. And it wasn't just for like those small groups I was talking about. I think in general, it wasn't something that people looked at as a needed resource unless you were dealing with an extreme condition.
Right.
If you told somebody back like in the 60s, 70s, 80s that, Uncle Bill he's getting therapy.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna look at each other like, all right.
Yeah.
He's I don't want to be alone with Uncle Bill.
Right.
If you say that today,
real talk.
If you say that today, most people might be, who's your therapist? Like, because they realize the effect.
Yeah.
Like all the secrets that they had in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah.
They have created a generation of trauma and destruction now.
And you know what? Just you hit it right on, because the secrecy, right? The family secrets,
hiding the truth.
Don't talk. Yeah, like it's. Man, like it is, but yeah, you're so right. When it comes to the whole secrecy, people, families, like there will be crazy things occurring within a family, and it's like a hush hush thing. Don't tell so and so. Don't talk.
Right.
No, yeah.
And it's so real. Secretive that the only way most people in the family would even know is if they were eyewitnesses.
I know.
It would even be kept away from them.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you won't even know unless you witnessed it.
Exactly.
Like an extremely violent experience,
Right.
Like domestic violence, abuse, of something crazy. You name it.
Right.
There were so many secrets, especially in the 80s and beyond,
Yeah.
that this generation that you're seeing, the most highly dysfunctional people in, Chicago, the wars, the gang.
But they're coming from that.
They're remnants of that.
Exactly.
Nobody talks about it. So you normalize debauchery. You normalize violence.
Yeah.
All the things that are wrong with society became normal. And so what we're seeing happening is that people are waking up. They're starting to say, no, this ain't right, man.
And
this ain't
enough
right.
is enough. Yeah.
Even the guy that we're talking about, Lil Loaded.
Yeah.
You don't. This is not even an assumption. I can say this with confidence. He definitely dealt with some things that no one who was a fan of his knew.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
That's simple.
I don't have to go that deep or speculate. Just the fact that he was 20 years old, he wrote a message like that before he passed away. He had some demons. He had some things that were so dark and they messed him up. And yes, it could have been outward, maybe a relationship or friendship going wrong or backstabbing, etc. But my point is, he was not strong and stable enough. He wasn't prepared. To deal with life's harsh realities.
Right.
That's what I mean about these secrets, man. It creates weak people.
Yeah.
Because you always are blinded. If you don't know where you're going and no one's telling you the truth about it.
Or trying to encourage you to talk about it. It's like you feel like you're the only person in the world dealing with this. Exactly. I mean, think about it. Like I'm going to speak for myself, but growing up in high school, broke up with a boyfriend and it's like the end of the world, right? Like mom, dad wouldn't know, right? Nobody would know.
And they probably didn't care to know. They were like, I got bills.
They would chase you if they knew, we talk about like, right? So, as far as just feeling like you're just in this bubble dealing with all of this like emotions, it could get tough and
it's
rough.
A real thing, man.
Yeah.
How many of you guys had that kind of transparent environment?
Where you could open up and talk.
Right. Let's be clear. Maybe some of you did. We like to know.
Yeah.
Were you able to talk to your parents about anything? And when I say parents, I mean like ages 18 and under.
Yeah.
Like you could come home from a rough day. Like your crush called you ugly. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Can you talk to your father about that? Can you be like, Dad?
You think they want to hear that?
Let me tell you about Brad.
And Daddy have red eyes trying to
figure
out how to pay utilities.
This is and you see the final notice for the water bill. So on the kitchen, he didn't even want to open it. It just says final notice. And you're shocked the water's still running. I mean, can you go to the kitchen and be like, Dad, or if you're a young male, you'd be like, Dad, let me tell you about Tamika. Yo, she trying to act like she ain't feeling the kid. Can you do that? So I mean, of course we're being funny, but at the same time we're being serious.
Yeah.
Leave a comment. Let us know. So if you are a parent at this point and you experience what we're joking about or what we're trying to make light of.
Yeah.
Do you allow your kids to talk to you about anything?
Yeah.
And by anything, I don't mean that you just support anything and everything they do.
Right.
But do you at least allow the lines of communication to be present?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if they're doing something crazy, are they comfortable enough to be like, yo, they trying to ask me to join the gang.
Yeah.
And this is the name of the gang and this is what I got to do and I just want to know. Like, do you have that? And if so, if not, why not? Because if you love your children, you absolutely should want to have the kind of relationship that no matter what they're dealing with,
right,
you are the first person they can talk to about. Yeah. Why wouldn't you want that? Yeah. And if you don't understand the importance of what I just said, then clearly you're probably a victim of what we're talking about. Yeah. When you haven't had that yourself, so you don't see, the big deal.
Like, I can't talk to my... Yeah.
Right, like, I don't talk to my father about everything. I've been beat up. I almost died in the alley. If you feel like that's normal, then you clearly are a victim. No judgment here. We're just saying you should understand the importance of having someone who knows you, loves you.
Yeah.
Time and time again have shown and proven that. And they're there to assist. You want that, not just a cop, not just a random, pastor at a random church. You should want someone who grew up with you or even helped raise you to be there. And so that's definitely all part of the problem that we're seeing. And, these people that we named, by the way, as you know, they're all different. Even though they were all pretty much in their 20s, they were at different levels. You got someone 20 on the dot.
Right.
Then you got like
mid-20s, like 26.
Yeah, mid-20s, like late 20s. 29, 29. Yeah. Etika was 29.
Yeah.
So you have a different range, different ethnic groups.
Right.
Different parts of the world. You know, the Avicii guy, he's Swedish.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show no matter where you are in this world.
Yeah.
You need to have someone you can talk to about anything.
Yeah.
And you also need to have a good, strong foundation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to definitely talk about that more in later episodes. What a good, strong foundation looks like, what it should be like for all of us. But in the meantime, we definitely want to send our condolences to all the people who have lost people, especially if you know someone or if you yourself have experienced that. Like if you're probably listening to this and you're thinking about a sibling, a parent, or a child, our condolences goes out because this is far more common than we, most of us like to admit. Substance abuse, drug abuse, violence, so many other ways where people's lives are cut short well before their natural time of passing. So, any parting words, Juju?
Yeah, I mean, no, you hit it right on the head, so to speak, as far as just really finding a source, a very reliable, grounded, helpful source. And whether that's, it should be your parents, but, whether it is like a family member that you could trust, someone, it's very essential these days because we're all going through things personally.
Right. Absolutely, man. So please work on yourself.
Yeah.
We're all doing that. We're doing that. I'm doing that. Juju is.
Absolutely.
Work on yourself. And by work on yourself, I don't mean like just spend money on yourself.
Yeah.
Eat fine foods, travel the world. That's not working on yourself.
Yeah. That's not healing.
Right. Get to know who you are.
Yeah.
Why you react the way you do, you respond the way you do, why you think, feel, and act the way you do, etc. In other words, really, truly deep dive into who you are.
Yeah.
Find your purpose. The things that hurt you the most, find out why. Start to unpack all of that pain so it no longer controls you.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, you're really the MVPs.
Yeah.
Please hit the like button.
Yeah.
Leave a comment. Share your thoughts on anything we discussed and covered today. Subscribe if you have not. And stay tuned for more episodes. It's your boy Gamma.
Your girl Juju.
Thank you. Until next time, escape the Matrix.